Hi guys, so in this video we'll be looking at the grapes again of Mesopotamia. In this video we'll be concentrating on religion. So, like many people in the Fertile Crescent, the Mesopotamians believed in many different gods. Each god dealt with a different force of nature. The Mesopotamians believed that they had to work and cooperate with the gods. For them, the land was full of spirits. In fact, there are more than 1,000 gods in Mesopotamian cultures, and there are many stories about them. For example, Enlil, the god of storms and air, was one of the most powerful gods. If you were living in this region at the time, certainly if you had a flood or there was a storm, you would feel the power of Enlil. The Sumerians, which were part of the Mesopotamia, feared him as the raging flood god. There was no rival. If you have a think about it, worshipping this god would be very important. This is not a god that you want to upset. This helps ordinary people understand the importance of behaving and obeying the law. No one wants to upset Enlil. Another god was An, or Anu, the sky god. He was the father of the gods. Anu was the king of all gods. In fact, he was so important there is no actual art depicting him. You are not allowed to show pictures of him. All the information about this god is translated in text, so we can see the importance of writing here as one of the achievements. Writing and religion, in the case of Mesopotamia, have worked together. Another god is Enki, god of fresh water, known for his wisdom. He was depicted as a bearded man with water flowing around him. You can see, being Mesopotamian, in a very arid and dry climate, why this god would be very important. Again, the god of fresh water is very important. If you upset this god, there will be no fresh water, there will not be any food, and well, you will die. Not all of the gods were men. Here is Ina, or Ishtar. She is the god of love and fertility, and she was the most important of all of the female gods. There are lots of other gods as well. Understanding the gods might have helped people understand their environment, but also encouraged them or scared them into following the rules and accepting the social structure. You really do not want to upset the gods. And it's very clear to people in their religion, if you upset the gods, there will be severe punishments. So in Mesopotamia, there was no one single creation story, but a collection of myths. Most people believe that before the earth and the gods were created, it was all dark, and there existed neither sunlight nor moonlight. The world began, they believed, when the gods defeated the forces of chaos and disorder. If you were living at the time in Mesopotamia, I'm sure you'll be able to feel sometimes order and sometimes chaos. Chaos might come in the form of a flood, or chaos might come in the form of a drought. So the people can understand that even though the gods have won, this does not mean that there's not going to be chaos again. There's chaos in the floods every so often, and chaos in the droughts. So these gods were assigned jobs to keep order over the world. Ordinary people might see the chaos in the floods and the droughts. So better build one of those irrigation channels, as the world is full of chaos. Better keep the gods happy, otherwise that will be really bad for you. Sumerians and Mesopotamians worked really hard to earn the respect of their gods and their protection. To do this, they followed daily routines, said prayers, and dealt with their dead properly. They were taught to respect the gods in the work they did every single day. Even if the leaders did not know what you were doing, the gods always did. The gods were always watching you. You cannot hide anything from the gods. So this could perhaps be a good way of getting people to behave themselves. So the Mesopotamians believed the main purpose of life was to serve the gods. This meant they needed somewhere to worship. One of their great achievements was keeping the gods happy. They did this by building very impressive zugats. Here is a zugat. For them, they offered rich sacrifices of animals, food, and wine. Ziggurat's were the largest and most important structure in the city. These really were a great achievement of architecture. The ziggurat stood at the centre of a high temple complex. The complex functioned as the city hall. This was because the priests ran the irrigation systems and all important aspects of city life. To do this properly, you needed a social structure, and you also needed to be able to write instructions down and keep a record of who was doing their job and who was not. People came to the complex to pay respects to the priests, and they gave them grain and other items. As a result, the priests managed the storage of surplus grain and controlled how much of the city's wealth was shared. So we can see here that society and social structures are really important. The priests are vital in looking after the excess grain, collecting the taxes, and making sure the city's wealth is properly recorded. So much so, these priests actually became leaders. They started to work their way to the top of the society structure. The priests advised the people on how to act and please the gods. The priests also claimed to have influence over the gods. Because of this claim, people accepted the priests as leaders. So again, we can see here, society and social structures are a very important part of Mesopotamia. The mythology began thousands of years ago. There was a need to explain to the ordinary people why the sun rises, why there are floods, why there are sicknesses, why there's sickness, and why there are wars. Myths were stories about gods and goddesses who had superpowers, but they also helped the priests and the leaders to explain to the ordinary people what was happening in their daily life. This gave them lots of power. So here we can see that we've got geography in the religion of the Mesopotamians. We've also got achievements in the buildings that they built. We've also got economics, because it's about the way the money is collected. We've also got society and structures. So now we're starting to see how the grapes combine together.